Across the public sector, we're at a turning point of a kind, because I think the recipes of the last 10, 15 years everyone is now starting to recognise are running out of steam, and that the public sector needs a new agenda. And that, I think, is, roughly speaking, where you are, and it's basically what's more, standards plus. We've got good basics, how do you generate more value? This incredibly ugly, ungainly phrase, place shaping, place leading, completely useless. I would ditch it and never use it. But therein lies one of the kind of big issues, which is what is the language that you use to describe the task you think you have in terms that your average punter will understand. Place shaping is not it, but nor is delivery of service, because it's something more than that. So why is it then that you've got to this place where you think you're doing a good job on lots of basic standards and performance measurement and all the rest of it, but there's something more, which is about quality of life, the environment, solving long-term problems, things like that. 5 reasons why you're in that place. The first is diminishing returns. If you carry on doing what has made you good, you will eventually start generating diminishing returns, and worse, you'll just go down a cul-de-sac. Why do good organisations become bad organisations? Because they carry on doing what made them good in the first place, and they miss new opportunities to do new things in different ways. If you're collecting the bins well, missing very few bins, that's great. Being able to guarantee to people that you'll collect them at 11:30 on a Thursday morning rather than on a Thursday morning doesn't really add very much. So doing more of what's made you already good won't necessarily generate additional value. Across lots of public services, there are real problems of plateauing of performance, most evident in education with primary performance, which is an increase in standards to begin with from all those strategies and key stages and all the rest of it, now plateauing out. And worse than that, actually inequality hasn't got any better. In fact, it's got worse. So in some ways, we're still failing to reach the most in need in education. And so that means that there is a danger that we hit the targets but miss the point. That is the danger across the public sector, that you hit the targets but you miss the point. And the point is to improve people's lives and life chances. The third big factor, which you've talked about a lot today, is changing aspirations. Just one very simple way to think about what that means. When I grew up I was born in the sort of just at the turn of the 60s, Britain was emerging from a long period where basically there was no consumer culture. Basically 40s, 50s, there wasn't consumer culture. It was a culture of I need. And you were lucky to have a fridge, a television, a car, maybe a telephone, but it was a culture of I need. And then in the 60s came growth, America, movies, supermarkets, and we moved into a culture of I want, and a culture of kind of desire, that you were allowed to want things that were different. And now we're basically moving from a culture of I want into a culture of I can. And the I can culture is, I don't just want something that's different, I want it to do something for me that allows me to do something new with it. And so if you think about all the big brands that are current and powerful, Google, it's an I can brand, you can search. Apple, Rip, Mix, Burn, it's an I can brand. Nike, it's an I can brand. The public sector is not an I can brand. The public sector is an I need brand, trying to become an I want brand, when actually the leading edge of consumer culture is into I can. And the public sector desperately needs to become I can, because the more you can get the people you're working with to see themselves as I can recycle, I can look after my health, I can learn, I can look for a job, I don't need to be on IB, then the more effective your services get. The fourth big issue, again you've touched on a lot today, is this alarming differentiation and diversity of demand. You are growing at the baby boomer and young professional end of society, whilst you're simultaneously creating an aging population who will have needs that we have not yet begun to understand. We are creating new generations of people, ordinary working class people, living into their 90s in fit lives, who want to live independently, who don't want people coming into their house that they don't know, and who want a different kind of quality of life. That's a completely different kind of challenge. So you're dealing with this kind of push me, pull you population that is going to pull you in different ways. One size fits all will not work for them. And increasingly, the public sector that commissions with block contracts delivers one size fits all. It's trying to cram different people into the same boxes, when actually it needs to break resources up so that it can be used more flexibly for those different people. And the final thing, underlying a lot of what you've been talking about this morning, is the kind of problems that you're dealing with. Social, shared, collective problems. And here's just one very simple way of thinking about it. Are the problems that you're dealing with clock problems, or are they cloud problems? So if you've got a clock problem, a clock is a highly complex piece of machinery which is difficult to repair, but there usually is a solution if you get the right kind of knowledge. It's complicated, but it's not complex. A cloud is complex, because a cloud you can see and you can even touch bits of it, but you cannot get your hands around it. Now, the problems that we deal with increasingly, which are to do with families and learning, to do with how children are brought up, with how neighbourhoods work or don't work, with obesity and health, they're cloud problems. And we've got clock makers at our best trying to solve cloud problems. The cloud problems need a different kind of solution. They're more diffuse, they're more out there. They don't rely so much on specialist skills. And so one discussion I was listening to at the back put it very neatly, which is we need more don't know management. We need less I know management. This is the solution, this is what you do, here's the contract, there's the template, here is the best practice manual guide. More, I've got no idea, but let's try and find or create a solution to a cloud problem. So the challenge then that I think you have got is how you move from a base where you've got good delivery of service as a platform into tackling these more diffuse, more differentiated problems. They're out there, they're not in our institutions. They will not come to visit us. We need to go out and visit them.